Hey, this is Clayton Olson, and in this video, we're going to talk about 5 ways you can make a man miss you without losing yourself in the process. And that second piece is really important because oftentimes when we're in the orientation of wanting, trying, desiring someone else to do something so that we can feel a certain way, we actually end up giving our power away. And what is our power? Our power is our connection to self. And so if you're in the spot right now where you're feeling insecure, you're wanting reassurance, you're wanting this person to think about you as much as you're thinking about them, know that you're not alone. This is something that happens in relationship. We can get twisted and bent out of shape in so many different ways when we get attached to somebody, when we see a future with them. And so my aim in this video is to help you begin to follow the breadcrumbs and the very, well, maybe clear path back to yourself in this so that you can not play games and try to be clever and strategize to get something you want from someone, but so that you can truly become someone that is impossible to forget. This is your first time to my channel. I help people work on the deeper blocks, the deeper patterns underneath people's most painful experiences in dating relationship that are keeping them stuck in a loop. And I help them resolve those so that they can start to create a life they love and love that lasts. So subscribe to this channel, comment below on whether or not you like this content, and if there's any questions that come up as we move through these 5 points. So the first thing I'm going to talk about is number 1, look for the ways in which you are currently abandoning yourself right now. If you are wanting the person that you are with or the person that you're dating to miss you. So the most magnetic energy in the world is someone who refuses to disappear on themselves. Because when you bend over backwards to get somebody's attention, you are unconsciously and maybe very consciously saying, your validation and approval means more than me connecting to my own center. And whether or not that can be felt consciously, people do sense it and then they react accordingly, whether they can articulate it or not. So the key here is look for the places where you are losing your center right now in this connection, in this relationship. And what does losing your center mean? Well, it means where are the ways in which you are chasing this person's presence? Where are you abandoning yourself? Where are you not remembering your innate gifts and value that you bring to the relationship and taking a stand for those things? The point here is to look for where are you ignoring your boundaries, right? Ignoring your boundaries mean where are you not holding true to maybe the disciplines and the practices you have in your life that make you happy, right? Where are you being too available and abandoning other things like your friends and the stuff that makes you happy and becoming hyper fixated or focused on this connection? To come back to yourself, to no longer abandon yourself, is to honor those things above the connection, the relationship that you're forming right now, so that you can bring yourself as an offering and have your well-being as an offering in the relationship. This will make you much more magnetic. So a woman who is self-loyal leaves a deeper imprint than any game or strategy ever could on a man. So the reflecting question that I'd like you to ask yourself is, where is it that you are leaving yourself behind right now for attention, for approval from this person? And what would it look like to reclaim that energy right now? Right now, what would it look like to reclaim that energy? So one way you can get into this is you can just ask the question to yourself. So if this man or partner, whoever it is, began to give you the attention that let you know that they did miss you and you knew they were thinking about you a lot, how would that feel? What would having that do for you? And now notice what you might see is that you start to transport into a state of, I'd feel relief. I'd feel at peace. I'd feel trusting. I'd feel secure in myself. The invitation here is to just skip the in order to, meaning skip the I need something outside of myself to happen first, and just realize that it is your birthright to move into a place of peace and relief and trust right now. And in fact, that's actually where you want to go first, and then you allow the world to begin to reflect that outside of you. So rather than the outside-in approach of, oh, I need this guy to do this thing, you move to the place of, I'm going to go into peace and security and trust right now, and then let's see how that shifts the dynamic from the inside out rather than the outside in. Step 2 in creating this experience of somebody thinking about you and missing you without you losing yourself is let silence be your power. Let silence be your power. So silence doesn't mean absence, it means self-respect. It's not ghosting or manipulation. It's the space that allows clarity to arise on both sides. So when you stop filling the silence just to keep the connection alive, you give him the rare opportunity to actually feel your absence. There's an old dating coach back in the day, a guy that I listened to about 20 years ago, would say, give people the gift of missing you. Not as a game, not as a strategy, but give them a chance to really feel your absence. Many people, if you're watching this video, you might have a anxiously attached way of being in a relationship. So there's a preoccupation with space. And there is a subtle belief that you might have that space is actually the enemy of relationship. And if you believe that space is an enemy to the relationship, most likely what ends up happening is you start to smother the relationship with your own lack of trust and control strategies that really stop people from being able to come to their own conclusion that they want to spend more time with you. So in this shift, what we're inviting you into is to realize that space is your friend. Space is your ally in a relationship because it allows the air to fan the flames of passion. And what this requires is it actually requires you to trust. It requires you to realize that maybe it's not your responsibility to hold up this connection on your shoulders. A lot of people that are in this orientation are typically high-functioning individuals as well, where they're used to making things happen in their life. But in the realm of relationship, when you take that same skill set, that high-functioning and perhaps borderline over-functioning mentality, and you bring it into a connection, it's like trying to make a plant grow when it's not up to you. The only thing you can do is give it water and light and make sure that it's in decent soil, and then let life do what life wants to that plant. Your relationship, your connections are the same thing. And we could say that the light in the water that the plant needs to grow are actually the light in the water that you give to yourself first. The ways in which you take care of your well-being, the ways in which you also come into deeper rapport with space in your life so that you have more time for reflection and you have more time to watch what wants to happen in your love life versus you making it happen. So a question for you to ask yourself in this scenario, for this shift: what would happen if you didn't try to fix the space right now between the two of you? What are you afraid might happen? What's the concern? Right? And then just ask yourself, well, is that true? Do you know that? Maybe you have some past experiences where perhaps the person doesn't reach out and there's a fear that everything might end. But what if something ending because you're not reaching out is actually a sign that this is just not the right person for you, versus meaning some type of personal failure on your part? So what would happen if you could just trust the silence to do the work? What if space, being your ally, actually was an act of creation in your relationship, that within the space something would emerge that is better and bigger than you could possibly imagine or uphold on your own? All right, moving on to number 3, be seen elsewhere by life itself. So what this means is we are typically taught to believe that being seen by him is what makes us feel valuable. And this comes from our earlier years in life when we're just these little kids and we really need to be seen and gazed upon by our parents to feel loved, to feel important. We need to be taken care of, because if we're abandoned, we would literally die. And sometimes this old programming comes out in our connections now as we, and maybe not sometimes, we could say all the time, this old programming comes out in our connections. And we start to get stuck in these loops where we are relating to someone outside of us as having some really nutritious sustenance that we need to have in order to survive. But as adults, we have a new opportunity, something for us to come into contact with the reality of where we're at. We're independent individuals that can truly build a radiant life without needing somebody right there next to us. So the real radiance comes from being seen by life, by your art, by friends, your purpose, your aliveness. When you immerse yourself in what lights you up, you stop needing him to be your source of glow. And paradoxically, that's when people take notice, because you're not waiting to be chosen. You are truly choosing yourself and you are choosing life. So The invitation here is to notice, where have you stopped having a love affair with life? Where are you stopping having a love affair with life? Where are you stopping seeing all of life through the lens of romanticism? Where are you ignoring beauty in your life right now? Where has it become hyper-focused on this particular individual that is going to be the access point to that? Realize that you can actually open that up and your whole life can be this living, loving romance when you remember that you can be in relationship with life from a place of trusting that it's giving you everything that you need to fill your cup up. Because then when you bring that to the relationship, you become someone who is truly unique, because the majority of people are not doing that. So the question here, we talked about this a little bit before. What parts of you have you put on pause? Where are you waiting for him to return or notice you? And what could you do right now that would allow you to feel seen by you? Right? What could you do right now in your life that would allow you to feel seen fully by you? Taking the attention off of him, bringing it back to you again. And the fourth one, stop trying to make him miss you fully. Neediness is a repellent. And so if you need someone to miss you, you are going to naturally push them away, because they will feel controlled, they will feel manipulated, they will feel that there's an agenda at play, and they will not be able to get in touch with their own knowing. And even if you think, well, hey, listen, Clayton, they don't know that I'm feeling this way, I would say, I bet that they do, because human beings are tuning forks. And if you are vibrating at a level of neediness, if your way of being is holding on to I need this thing to happen and I feel that lack, I'm not whole and complete, and now I'm texting or contacting or playing games from that place, people have incredible radars to be able to pick up on this stuff. It's part of our survival patterning to know when someone is there trying to get something from us. So the more that you can let go of this outcome, the more that you can surrender the outcome of this relationship needing to happen, him needing to do anything for you or with you, the more that you allow life to take its course. A man might miss your body, but what haunts him is your authenticity and your vulnerability. The ways that you show up when you're not performing, the ways that you show up when you can be so damn connected to yourself that you serve as a model for how other people want to live and be in relationship with themselves. That's magnetic. That's who I'm inviting you to be in this, is take the attention off of him and come back to you and let go of the outcome and realize that the chips will fall where they may. So the more that you can surrender, the more powerful you will be. Surrender is the ultimate form of power. If you're wanting to learn more about that, I can link to another video I've created called How Letting Go Creates in Your Life. I'll link that right over here, and it'll be in the description as well if you want to follow that rabbit hole deeper. So the question to help you get access to this state of being that we're speaking about in number 4 is, what would you do differently right now if you weren't trying to make him miss you? What would you do differently if you could realize that thinking about him and wanting him to miss you was something that you could just let go of completely? What would you start doing in your life right now? How would you show up? Who would you call? What activities would you do? How would you communicate differently with him? That's a big one to think about as well. Who would you be if this wasn't about him right now? And again, approach all these things with compassion and curiosity. This isn't about blaming yourself or fixating on the things you're doing wrong. This is about realizing that you're learning how to manage a younger aspect of yourself with love and care, and gently guiding and providing structure for them to feel safe with you, versus you taking that little self on the inside and making somebody else outside of you responsible for it. Because that's what's happening in the subtle dynamic. Right? I'm okay if this person thinks I'm okay. And we want to acknowledge that, and then we want to say, thank you for catching that self. All right, I'm taking ownership of me again. And number 5, if you want to make a man miss you without losing yourself, you have to be willing to grieve with grace. Most likely, if you're watching this video right now, you miss him, and it probably hurts. You might be wondering whether this is another failed connection that had potential and it's not going anywhere, or if you're in a deeper connection with him, this might be another failed relationship. And in this moment, if this is completing, if this is ending, how can you let it die with dignity? How can you let it die while remaining heart open and connected to yourself? Because there is so much power in you being able to actually be in touch with the realness of the experience, the love that you feel, the depth of connection that you feel, and say to yourself, hey, this mattered. Regardless of whether this person is acknowledging that or not, that doesn't mean that this was some trivial thing for me. This was a real thing for me, and I can honor it, and I can let this love break me open. I can let it evolve me into a more courageous, loving human being. And so I want to read a little bit of what I wrote here, which is the most powerful, unforgettable women are the ones who don't run from grief. They meet it with presence. They meet it with elegance. They honor what was real. Because the love that you feel right now does not need to end in order to evolve. Right? This experience doesn't have to break you down and shut you down and numb you. It could continue to break you open to loving more. And sometimes grief is your soul's way of saying that this mattered. And when you allow yourself to fully feel it cleanly, you become someone who no longer clings to what was, but rather you can start to alchemize it from the beginning to the richness of the middle, all the way to the ending, and seeing it all as love. And that is a woman that a man misses, not because she's gone, but because she is a stand for what real love looks like. So, if you want to be missed, it starts with you connecting with the parts of yourself that you are missing. It always comes back to you. It comes back to your stance, to how you're showing up in this, to who you are being and how you are living from your heart, and not abandoning yourself and being able to trust what is happening in front of you and letting the chips fall where they may. So if this video landed with you, please comment below, subscribe to the channel if you're still watching. And if you are in a difficult situation right now where you're looking for some advice and some expert guidance on how to handle it and how to handle yourself, this is the work that I've been doing for 12 years with women and men around dating and relationships, and helping them look at the deeper dynamics of what's actually happening so you can start to create the results and the love that you want in your life moving forward. Go ahead and click on the link in the description below to fill out a coaching application, and I'd be happy to set up a free call with you and get to know you. You can get to know me, and we can have a dialogue about what it would look like to move forward and give you some professional support and guidance. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.